Hello there, our friends, dear Evolutionary Energy Arts, EEARTS family.
Hello there, welcome back everybody.
So guys, Evolutionary had a strike on it, and that strike was coming off September 7th. We wake up this morning and we find we have a new strike. So we can't post on Evolutionary for a week. All the videos will be going up on EEARTS. And, this is, I guess, something they're just going to do all the time. As soon as we clear one strike, they'll give us another. It's part of the great battle that we find ourselves in. And truly, this is a battle of information and misinformation. Please do make sure you're subscribed with the little bell. Click to both channels. And we just put one up that was intended to go up on Evolutionary. But they blocked it from going up, so we put it on EEARTS. Although we will, I don't know how we're going to do it, honestly, moving forward as far as the geopolitical, because we wanted to go more into the mysteries on EEARTS. And honestly, in these times right now, there are people that just can't stand seeing the news, and that's the truth. We talk to so many family members that they're like, I can't even look at anything related to the news right now because it's just too distasteful, it's too aggravating, it's getting me too irritated, it's lowering my vibrations. So we want to keep EEARTS for people that are primarily looking for the spiritual side, looking to uncover the mysteries. As you see, the last 5 days or 6 days or so, you could see, we're just going into the history and trying to find clarity for people on what's the truth, because our myths and legends have truth, but there's misperceptions that we have that are absolutely entirely purposeful, completely purposeful, because they don't want you understanding the truth. They can't have you understanding the truth. The system is founded on lies, and the system is founded on holding and withholding knowledge from the public. If you understood completely what's going on, everything would collapse, and really we would have a scenario playing out that would blow people's minds, but has played out in the past. If you understood the things that have happened in the past, truly, and what even is happening now on the biggest scale, it could rattle people to the core.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And there's a lot of people who understand that the best thing to do is really just remove themselves from the agitation. But then that, you have to ask the question, well, why do you guys go into all of this negativity? Why do you guys cover all these things that are so horrible? Our goal is to reach people who might be in that negative spot and show them that there's another way if they so choose. Some people want to sit in it. That's what they want to do, and that's okay. No judgment there. But if there's somebody who is just, their heart's broken, they can't stand it, they're looking for another way to do things, that's what we offer. But you can't find those people already on their path. Usually you have to meet them where they're at. So that's our goal, is to reach people from all different aspects, from all different points of perception, and bring them and show them there's a different way to do things. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and we have a purpose, and we understand our purpose, and the whole reason why we're alive at this period of time is to do this with you guys. All of our life has just been building up to this time period. It's all been about acquiring the knowledge, going within, positioning ourselves to be a bridge in this time of transitioning from a dark age out of that dark age. This happens all the time. And so one of the things that's unique about us and this channel is the fact that Cindy is an amazing channel. And she can channel all sorts of beings. I haven't found a being that she can't connect with yet. And we've had conversations with beings like Aleister Crowley out of the blue. We've also talked to John D. And we've gotten their take on what happened in their lives and how they were basically, well, to use an old-fashioned term, hoodwinked by the dark side. And they thought that they were communicating with the light, basically. And this happens time and time again. And the light is dark, dark is light. It's that George Orwell 1984 thing, where what you've been brought up with, as far as, the things that you've been given as truths, for the most part, they're upside down and backwards. A lot of people, when you go read the book of Enoch for the first time after reading Genesis 6, you think, I got the truth. Oh, it's all fallen angels came down and they taught us, things like, how to, cultivate the land, how to grow corn, how to, have harvests. And they taught us all these other things. And then, that's why we were being killed. And there's still these things that just, there's slants on there that just don't feel right. Well, that's because they're not right. It's still another road that leads to misunderstanding. What we have to realize is that the beings that are portrayed as deities, in really every single case, there is one source. There's one source, and that source is something that can personify itself and does. In you, in me, in all the beings you ever encounter. There is one source. These other beings that we've taken as deities are beings. And, it's again a misunderstanding, a misuse of terms to the point where the terms no longer are really suitable. So when we see these Egyptian gods, they are, in many cases, just beings. And in many cases, these are very, very benevolent beings. You have to use your discernment. And again, if you are in a system that cultivated spiritual growth, true spiritual growth, not memorizing things by rote and just accepting dogmas, but real spiritual growth, which does require hours, countless hours of going within, sacrifices, like periods of fasting. There's a reason why fasting is used in all traditions, really, that you look at in order to connect to the higher densities. Many of these beings are benevolent beings. There are some that are not so benevolent. Again, these are all people. Plain and simple, they're all people. Now, it depends on when we saw them, when they came into our sphere of influence where we could see them and interact with them. That'll give you a clue as to whether they are benevolent, malevolent, whether they are what we would term some of the Anunnaki, Ijiji, Draco, AI, dark squad, dark team, so to speak, the dark hats, or whether there's some of the light hats, the white hats, the light hats that are truly from, a benevolent standpoint. You guys may be familiar with like Isis. This is a flashy representation from the movie Gods of Egypt. Again, some of the movies, they'll give us little clues. Again, always, of course, Hollywood is under their control grid. Osiris, you might be familiar with. Ra, Horus, Thoth, Sekhmet, Anubis, Bast or Bastet. You see all these different deities. Well, we're going to do something a little different today because Cindy is able to channel this one Egyptian deity so well. Actually, there's many that she can channel so well we could just have a simple conversation. And maybe at some point we'll be able to do lives again without a tremendous amount of interference, and you could ask these deities questions. Well, you see this guy way down here in the corner? This is Bess. And so Bess is a new one that has come to us, new only in this life, in Cindy and I's incarnation in these physical vehicles, because we've worked with Bess in other times, as we have worked with Aset, who is one of our main guides, and we owe Aset so much. Aset is just an amazing being. And, it goes back to the Golden Age. And this is a relief. You see a stone depiction of Bes. Now, Bes is interesting because, you look at all these other deities, one of the things they do is they show them from the profile. Isn't that curious? They all are profiles, and you'll find this with all the Egyptian deities. Well, not Bes. He's looking at you straight on. Straight on. It almost feels like he doesn't fit in with the rest of this group. But he does, and yet he is absolutely a very, very unique person. And he is a person. And, again, these are people for the most part. Now, some are truly personifications of nature, but that doesn't mean there's not a consciousness there. When we talk about the archangels, we're talking about, in some ways, the personification of actual elements and elemental powers of a very high nature, but there is a consciousness associated with those. So Bes appeared to Cindy not too long ago. It was only like three days ago or so. Out of the blue, Cindy was like, there's somebody new here. And she gave a depiction of him. I said, what does he look like?
Oh, this was good. He is classic. And I think the reason he stands face forward is because he likes to give it to you straight. He likes to say it how it is. He doesn't sugarcoat. He has a very good sense of humor. So I got to tell you guys the whole story. So I'm laying there in bed and I see this deity, and at first it came out to be kind of like something that was a little bit disturbing, and I didn't like that. And I said, who are you? Who are you? Because I'm not going to get names. That's one of my biggest flaws, is I don't get names, because names are labels, and they're also like a man-made construct. So when we're dealing with man-made constructs and we're channeling with different beings that this is a vibrational being, I'm not just going to get a name. So they show themselves to me. And this guy, he stood right there and he gave me the face of a lion, and then he stuck his tongue straight out at me. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. And I told Mike, I said, I don't know what's going to come of this, but this guy says, look up a lion with his tongue sticking out. And I thought, we're never going to come up with anything like that. And so that's how that story started.
Yeah. And so, this is, again, now that's the interesting part of Cindy and I, because I will often get the names for the ones that she's seeing. It'll just pop in my mind. I'll either see the word or I'll get the sound. A lot of times it's visual, so I'll actually see the word, or I'll see a depiction, and then I'll do a search, and it's like, there's what I just saw. And so this is Bes, the dwarf god. And yeah, actually, he's unique. He is unique. You see him standing on an Ouroboros, which is the snake that's eating its tail, which basically is a symbol for eternity. And he's a fabulous guy. I mean, honestly, he's fun. He is absolutely a fun person, and he is a person with a unique personality. He's definitely got a great sense of humor, and that's one of the main things that he wanted to tell me. And, I guess Cindy too, right? He wanted to tell us to lighten up and have fun, because we're getting too somber, we're getting too serious, we're letting the conditions of everything that's going on in the world, because we understand the bigger picture. You guys, I know, 99% of the people that are going to watch this video are going to understand the bigger picture of what's going on. And it's a hard picture to deal with, and still remain positive, still try to stay in an upbeat mood, which is critical. So he wanted to tell us to lighten up, make sure you're having fun, laugh, find the humor in things. And if you guys can see, that's what I've been trying to do instinctively, trying to find little things that are going to get you to laugh while, we deliver the news about the end of the age and the apocalypse going on. But here's something to make you laugh, because we want to try to make you laugh, and we want to get this across. But part of why Bess came to us too is because he's helping us with protection, because obviously anybody that's spreading the truth about the situation that you find yourselves in, we're under attack constantly under attack. And we're helping people energetically that are under attack. We're always clearing demons. We're always clearing out these dark energies, these entities that attach to people and use people as a food source and try to spiral people downwards. You can see that the world is going crazy out there. It's very easy to see. You could see so many random acts of violence and malevolence. People are being possessed. People are being mind controlled. This is what's going on right now. It's a very, very dark time. And we are only weeks or at best months away from a major period in time when things go to a completely different level. It's here now. It's here now. The last part of this year is going to be very, very challenging. So he's here. And you can call on him too if you want to. And we understand there are people that are going to be uncomfortable with calling on anybody that they don't know. And how many people know Bess? Well, if you're in Egypt, a lot. But if you're not, then probably very few nowadays, even though Bess was one of the very most well-known quote-unquote deities in Egyptian myth, and actually also in households. He was somebody that kind of everybody had a depiction of him there to call on. So a dwarf with lion and human features. Bess was a protector of pregnant women, newborn babies, and the family. He also protected against snake and scorpion bites. What he actually does is he actually is a demon fighter.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And he does give information to you straight, and I think that's why he was a household name, because he could bring light to the subject, and also protecting the divine feminine energies is something that he did. And I gotta tell you, he really does have a sense of humor. He's like always, just cracking jokes left and right. Whenever something's going on, he just sort of slaps his knee. And yeah, he can get a little overwhelming, but you know what? His energy that comes in really, really lightens the entire room. And I think that's exactly what he wants to do, is come in and try to lighten things up, because when you look at it the way they are, there's nothing really to laugh at. It's very difficult, but we must laugh. We must find humor. That's a coping mechanism, and it's okay. So we need to find that within ourselves again, and he's here to help.
Absolutely. So, it's these are some of the depictions of him, and yeah, he can look kind of fierce at times, and other times he could look pretty comical. Well, that's his nature, because he showed Cindy really at first the depiction of a demon, and then he showed himself. And what he was given her was that he gets rid of demons. He fights these demons. He wants to help us through this time. And what you have to recognize too, these are people. They are people. Just because we can't see him, just because most people can't see him, I should say, because Cindy can see him. And I asked her, last night, I was like, what's Bess doing? Well, he's meditating in the corner right now. That's what he's doing. And she could communicate with him just at any particular time, as he's an easy match to communicate with. So he was believed to be like a fertility god that had the ability to ward off evil spirits and demonic forces that sought to do harm in the home. So yeah, he was kept all around, and as soon as we got this info. I ordered a statue off of Etsy that should be in a day or two. He's also known as Bisu or Aha. 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 So it's interesting too. He had no temples, no priest ordained to him, but he was one of the most popular gods of ancient Egypt. He was all over household items as well. And he became the champion of everything good and fighting against everything evil. People actually had tattoos of Bes on them. So very interesting. Now, what we get from Bes, and I'll have all these links for you guys if you want to go in a little bit deeper. And interesting too when you think about fertility, because Homo sapiens now is not a very fertile species. And that's part of the big plan. And last night, he tells it to you plain, because Cindy and I are having a conversation, and he'll speak up and share his take on it. And he was sharing how the controllers, they laugh at this. They laugh at us because they've done this so many times, and we have evidence of that. That there's been these massive time periods where all of a sudden, great cataclysm, and something that, if you go back to Evolutionary, and again, I like to talk like just so off the cuff with you guys, because you're family. You that have been following us, you're family. When you see, like here, this 4 years ago, pole shift speed increasing, at this point in time, I was thinking, there are natural cycles, and I always knew these cycles are being utilized to be augmented through weather modification, geoengineering, and the like, different technologies, to be worse than they have to be. And, that's where these controllers take advantage of the opportunity to whittle people down to a manageable number. And as time went on, I started to get the feeling, I'm thinking more and more it's the technology. These are the excuses. And I do think now, and what Bess was, saying was basically, of course. They do this every 12,000 years. Every 12,000 years, you have a complete reset. The Great Reset is not just about digital currency. The Great Reset is more like what you saw transcribed on those stones in Georgia. That's the reality of it. That's what they do every so often. This is the Sumerian version where Enlil says there's just too many of them. Time for a flood. They do that every 12,000 years or so.
And he said, as far as what they're doing now, this is like the oldest planetary trick in the book. They continue to do this over and over and over, and it does sadden him, definitely saddens him. But for us to get through it, we need to really lighten our hearts, lighten how we approach things, not take things so seriously, step back and just see wherever we can create something positive and create a positive expression. We need to do that, and that's really critical right now, because that's going to help us get through it, because we're in this cesspool of energy where people are so miserable. They're watching TV, they're just cranky, they're angry, they have to go and get this and do that, and they're exhausted and they're overwhelmed, and really we just sit in this cesspool of anger and lethargy, and we really need to break out of that and find the laughter, find the fun, because that's really bad for our health. It's really bad for our health. And understand that this is what the controllers are doing in such a deliberate way, is triggering people so that they are angry, so that they are overwhelmed. He said that's the biggest planetary trick in the book, is to control your guys' emotions, because that's everything.
Absolutely. So really, who is Bes? Well, Bes is an extraterrestrial, and he comes from Orion, or what we call the Orion star cluster, whatever you want to call it. We see reference to it with the Giza pyramids, the belt of Orion right here. And here you see Sirius. And there's been so many books out about Sirius. I know Robert Bauval did one, the Syrian Mystery. We've had Graham Hancock talk about this. We've had so many people that have done research into ancient Egypt and, the obvious ties to extraterrestrials. These are extraterrestrials. And it's just a matter of, are they benevolent, are they malevolent? Well, it's when we encountered them that will give you that clue. So Bess came in the Golden Age, and he stayed all the way into the Bronze Age. And so he was well aware of those that we call the Anunnaki. And the Anunnaki infiltrated in the Silver Age, portraying themselves as basically benevolent beings too. Again, Earth has been utilized as, I don't even know what you would call it. I mean, would you call it a trading station? Would you call it, it's a place where people interact from all over. And this is the case with so many other planets out there. It's normal to have interactions going on between beings of many different species. That's just normal. That's a given. We've been basically on kind of a lockdown right now. We're under a dark control system at this point in time. Now, because we're on the upswing and we're starting to work our way back up, and we're going to be going through the Bronze Age again and then through the Silver Age again, we're going to have more and more exposure to the benevolent beings. So when you talk about the Book of Enoch, and we could go back in and do a video on that in detail, the Book of Enoch talks about these spirits that will be bodiless, right? Well, because they're not on the same density, but they make them out to be evil. The evil ones are here. They've been here throughout the entire Abrahamic tradition's time, because again, they've utilized the Abrahamic tradition to be, their main control grid from a religious standpoint. Again, everything is a distortion. There's deep truths, but you got to wade through a whole bunch of misinformation, and we were well aware of that. And I mean, just look at misinformation, that term. Yeah, the misinformation is the truth, and the truth is the misinformation. This is the reality. It's an upside down reality. So Bess is an extraterrestrial from Orion. We've had many different interactions with many other different extraterrestrials. In the past 3-4 years, there's been a ton of them that we've interacted with in different places at different times. And there are many extraterrestrials that are still coming and going. What you see in the sky is a hologram, because they basically cover it over to cover over all the ships that are constantly coming and going. And a lot of times these ships get spotted and people may film them. But again, when we look to this, these are extraterrestrials. And again, interdimensionals, because they're on a different density. Yet our density is going to be moving closer to the benevolent ones. And we are at first going to just kind of tippy-toe through the density of the darkest of the dark before we get to the area where we start to leave them behind. And that is, again, the woe to you, O earth and sea part of the devil coming to you a great wrath. But yeah, absolutely. This is what is all about the pyramids. The pyramids are telling you, and the pyramids were put here in the Golden Age. They're giving you a clue. Orion, Sirius. This is telling you where these extraterrestrials came from. Now, in the Law of One, there's the Orion group, and so not all extraterrestrials from Orion are bad. Some want to give the impression that they're all bad. No. And again, it's just like with humans on Earth. Some are willing to sell out their own kind. Some are willing to push them off a cliff that they know is a cliff while they're smiling and saying, "Oh, you're going to be fine. Don't worry. You're going to be fine." Ah! No, he wasn't fine. "Oh, you'll be fine, though. Here, let's give you a nudge off this cliff." Yeah, there are humans like that. And then there are humans that would lay down their life for another. It's the same thing. You can't just say all extraterrestrials of any particular species are totally good, totally evil. The AI component and the infection that comes therein, yeah, if you get exposed to a lot of that, that will start to overwhelm your consciousness, and that will definitely pull you down that dark path.
Mm-hmm. And that's something that we talk about a lot too, is getting away from those EMFs and letting our natural magnetic frequency sit and lay the way it needs to lay, so our bodies can heal properly, so we can pick up the thoughts and pick up the understandings that we really, really need to pick up to make ourselves and our lives and our loved ones healthy, happy, and harmonious. But when we are around all of these devices all the time, that our natural electromagnetic connection is interrupted constantly. So it's like, somebody sitting there poking you with a pencil. You can't concentrate. You can't sit there and understand and know to do what's best for you and your family when you got something poking at you all the time, changing your mind, getting you distracted, throwing you off course. So yeah, these are all things that we need to look at, and we need to look at them in a way that's lighthearted, because that's what's going to pull us through this dark time. And it is a very, very dark time. But depending on how we approach things, it's our response to the darkness is what matters right now.
Absolutely. And, from our work in our meditations, Cindy's amazing ability to channel, and the flashes of inspiration and knowledge that our guides have given us, we understand that Cindy and I first came here in the Golden Age when the pyramids were put in place. So we did come with Aset and others at that time period, and that was our first interaction on Earth. As many as perhaps a third of the souls incarnating on Earth at this period of time are coming from other star systems. So you could say it that a third of the people that you are seeing on Earth right now have had lives as extraterrestrials on other places. Yeah, about maybe 2/3 or so of the people incarnating on Earth only know Earth, but still have heritage from other star systems. This is the great secret they don't want you understanding.
No, they don't want to know where you're from, because that gives you a good idea of who you are and what you're capable of. So always keep that in mind when we're watching TV, or we have to go across anything with the mainstream media. There's always going to be that slant that they're going to keep us from our ability to reach to our highest self possible while we're here, because they want to keep us in that low vibrational place where everything is angry and everybody's angry. And I gotta look to Tucker Carlson, because boy, he really lays out a really good argument, and it's true. But when you watch him, don't you find yourself just sort of getting a little bit angry at all of the truth that he says? Yeah, it's true, but his job is to sit there and aggravate us and aggravate the situation so that it cannot heal. Sometimes he might have something funny. That's okay. We do need funny. We need funny to laugh at things, because we can't change what the controllers are doing, but we can change how we react and respond to all the things that are coming at us. And we can even change what we decide to watch and expose ourselves to.
So when you look to these skulls, and we've been talking about these different species, the species that we have called the Gigi that were the slaves of the Anunnaki are the slaves of the Draco. The Draco are slaves to the AI that they were basically part of the creation of. Now they are enslaved by it. These people that might have inhabited these very skulls are right now, many of them are incarnated as your politicians. They are probably in incarnation right now in positions like in the WEF, major players in the UN, in the CDC, in all these alphabet soups. Again, we have to get past thinking of extraterrestrials in a limited state from a limited perspective. This whole planet's been just nothing but basically an intergalactic, interdimensional, extraterrestrial spot that people have interacted, interbred, interwoven their histories. Just always. We can see. I mean, look at that skull. That's not Homo sapiens. No, but the person that inhabited this skull and the body that came with it might now, be inhabiting Nancy Pelosi or Obama or any of the politicians. This is also why they track certain bloodlines. And so, as we were saying, you could see the foramen magnum, this is where the spinal column enters, is different than Homo sapiens. The plates are different. This is not Homo sapiens, but they can interbreed with Homo sapiens. Again, this is because this is the way the universe works. It's intended to be this way. There should be interactions between different species. It's all about life exploring life. And it's not evil. The only thing that's evil is the system which takes away knowledge and freedom from humanity. As you look at these different skulls that we have so many crazy, skulls that people have found over time. Yeah, sure, there's some frauds, but then there's also mummies that are showing you that, okay, that's humanoid. It's humanoid. It's not Homo sapiens. And there's people today that are still born with these skulls. Still born. I mean, this is exactly how things have been so distorted. And so right now, Bess is, he's outside of our visible spectrum right now, but at some point in time, he will be visible to us again. Look at what the hieroglyphics are telling us. We come from the stars. Again, when you look to the Vedic traditions, it's well known. There's hundreds of thousands of humanoid species in our galaxy. Why would they put the pyramids aligned again with the belt of Orion? Because the people from Orion came here. And they give you timelines. And it's all there for us to figure out. They're telling you when they came here. They're telling you when the Golden Age came here. Again, when you look to the weathering on the Sphinx, it could have only happened when there was ample water. Northern Egypt was lush, tropical. The Nile went right by the pyramids. And we're talking about every 12 to 14,000 years, there's a great reset on a huge magnitude. So when the pyramids were put in place, you would have seen things that would have blown your mind. So yes, Aset also is not from Earth. She's an extraterrestrial. Absolutely. She's also interdimensional because she's a being that primarily resides on the 6th density.
They do a really good job keeping this information from us. And then if we do want to explore it, they have people trained to tattle on one another, saying you shouldn't look into that. That's demons and devils and you can get in a lot of trouble. But we are meant to explore. We're exploratory beings, and going within and finding self-realization, it's probably the most important thing you can do, not only for yourself, but for your family, for your children, for those around you, because that's how we are lost. They make us lost by putting us in these places of indoctrination and telling us things that are not true, and they tell us about who we are not. So when we're able to find out who we are, that really, really, really puts a different tone on things, because now we have direction, understanding. They keep so much from us. It just makes me so sick to see people just in a state of fear and anxiety. But really what's going on is you're awakening, you're perceiving more things, and there's nothing wrong with you. You just need to meditate. Really. Meditate, learn to use some sage. You're okay. We're going through a time of evolution, and they're doing everything they can to skirt that.
So when we're talking about these beings, who are they? They're our friends. They're our friends, basically. Do you have to get down on your hands and knees and worship them? This is something that was driven into us, really, by the Anunnaki. And again, Anunnaki is a big term because Anunnaki contain many different species. They're the ones that got us to get down on our hands and knees. But then again, these beings we held in such high regard and so much esteem and so much love, we would always, deal with them in a respectful manner because we loved them. We loved them. And people are very passionate about that. And you can see that when we talk about the old ways, that always struck me. There was always something that felt so off about the Abrahamic tradition. There was always like a lack of love. Even though the story of Jesus that's portrayed as the suffering servant that dies for humanity in a blood sacrifice, it could bring anybody to tears. Absolutely. I mean, in Eloi, Eloi, when he's saying, my God, why have you forsaken me on the cross? And then you realize that's just part of the play. That's part of the drama because, he really wasn't sacrificed on a cross. Many people were. The Romans put people to death all the time by crucifixion. So many people were sacrificed on crosses. Absolutely. It's brutal. And we're talking about Vlad Tepes, who impaled people and let them just, take hours, maybe even days to die, depending on how they were impaled. Horrible atrocities. And Yeshua, the real Yeshua, is a being that gives off incredible love that feels very much like the love that the creator of this universe gives off. But again, there is a structure, and it's a structure that comes about through experience. And some souls are more ancient than others. Some souls have been, at the game of creation for billions or more years in human terms than others. And there are new souls coming from Source all the time. New individual souls, all coming from Source at all times, really. So yes, some of us are more ancient than others. Some are newer souls. Some have had many experiences on many different planets. I don't know. Have you ever had dreams of looking up into the sky and seeing more than one sun, more than one moon, seeing something that seems totally alien? It could be a remembrance of a past life that you've had in a different place.
Mm-hmm. Those memories stay within us. Those emotions and those things are signatures. They're actual signatures. They're things. Just because we can't see them like tangible, like we can see our hand in front of our face, doesn't mean that they are not things. And when things are created, memories are created, emotions are created, they stay there. That's why it's important to have our emotions in order and processed properly to lie inside of our energy field so it's not creating angst.
Absolutely. So before we close this one out, I want to ask you, Send, if there's anything else that Bess wants us to get across to people. And there.
I want to try to say this as gently as I can, but what he did say is look to see if you are being offended, if people are offending you. And no, people shouldn't just be coming out of the woodwork and offending you for fun. But if you're one that's just taking offense to everything, that's lowering your vibration. And please understand that the controllers on this planet are doing everything that they can do to make sure that people are in a state of anger and frustration and feeling offended. So what do we need to do? We need to take a look at ourselves and have some introspection and sit down with ourselves and find out, where is this misery coming from, extract ourselves from said situations and become whole and be happy and find something. He says, find something to laugh about. There's always something to laugh about, no matter how dire it is. You can remember a funny video. Animals are always doing something funny. He says your animals are higher vibration than you. Hold your animals. Hold them. Hold them. So he's very passionate about that, is to understand that the cesspool of emotions is being created for you on purpose to keep you in that cesspool. We need to rise above it. There's a different way we can respond, and start doing that, and then show other people that there is a different way to be. So I hope that doesn't hurt anyone. I hope it simply helps, but it's something that we need to take a good hard look at. And if we're feeling angry at other people for doing other things, we need to sit with ourselves, because we can't control everything around us. That's not our job. We can only control ourselves and what's inside.
Absolutely. So I thought that we would share this with you guys. Again, this is all about the cycles of the yugas and who we meet as we go through the cycles of the yugas. Again, the Dark Age is under that control of the Draco AI Anunnaki GG control grid. Same thing with the edges, basically, of the bronze. They lose control as we go through this. But the infiltration actually came in the Silver Age. That is when they started to infiltrate and started to subvert humanity. So this is a cycle. It is a cycle that happens, again, about every 12,000 years. But put out your intentions for positivity. Put out your intentions for love and understanding for the masses. Very, very powerful. We're very, very powerful together. And Cindy's going to give us one ding on the way out.
Okay, just one. This is my quiet one. It's my weighted one. So I want you guys to find something really happy. I want you to just smile. Just stop for a moment, whatever you're doing, and just smile. And I want you to feel this. I want you to feel it through your whole body, and I want it to lift you up. So hold tight. Here we go. You're not going to hear anything, but you should feel it for sure. And take a deep breath. Think of a favorite animal. Think of something that's your favorite, and let this information rise you up and above the cesspool that they create and expect us to live in. So I really hope this helps you guys. Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.